after Jesus and I had that conversation about what it's like to partner with the power of God in order to heal somebody, he then said, Dakota, you want to watch me do something harder? And I go, yeah. And he goes, okay, here we go. And brought me to sort of a new memory. And I looked around and we were definitely in a city. And there were a lot of people kind of laying down to the ground. And I realized, oh, these are crippled people. They can't walk. They're all in the same place. And Jesus said, this is what is the name? The miracle he did in Jerusalem by that pool. For the name of the pool is slipping my mind right now. But this was what Jesus had brought me back to. This is something actually in the Bible. This memory. And Jesus, he said, all right, Dakota, you're going to feel what it is to be me again. And I want you to pay attention to what's happening. He let me kind of just like enter into this memory as if I was Jesus. So I was getting to relive one of Jesus's memories. It was his memory, but it was my first time feeling it. And I realized there were a lot of eyes on him, which was different than the first healing he showed me. But I could feel Jesus was super locked in on this one person that he was walking towards. And I said something so fast, I think I sort of paused the memory because I had such an outburst. I'm like, but there's so many people watching. And this was the harder part with the pressure on. And Jesus knew that. There was pressure on. People were watching. I think some of the Pharisees might have even been watching, people that were not on his side. And not even people who were neutral. People were not on his side. Some of these watchers are ready to not be on his side. And Jesus said, yes, they are there, but I'm going to stay focused on who I'm here to heal. And for me to feel that within him, where my instinct would have been to first look at who's watching me and then maybe carry on with the mission, Jesus had already worked through all that stuff. He just looked at the one he was here for. And he knew the watchers would be affected, but he was focused. And as he walked up, he then crouched down in front of this man who averted his eyes. And I smelled something. I was like, Jesus, what is that? And Jesus, I heard him say, almost narrating to me his own memory. He goes, yep, that is what you think it is. I go, and he goes, these people couldn't get to a bathroom, so they had their own piles. And it stank. Yep, it stank. Oh, that's so sad. Breathing through that, but Jesus again stayed focused. And he looked at this man and I believe he asked, do you want to be healed? And this man kept averting his eyes. Just the shame was so apparent. He wasn't even hiding his shame. In fact, if he had tried to hide shame, it would have been culturally not okay. He needed to always be shameful. Culturally, he needed to be shameful in that culture, or act shameful and not worthy. And Jesus just stayed with him. And finally, this man, I think, like croaked out of his voice a yes. And what I saw was Jesus grabbed his arm. And I remember him saying, stand up and walk. And as he was doing it, he like lifted him to his feet with such power. And as this man was on his way to standing, like he was still in Jesus's momentum, as Jesus had grabbed his arm and lifted. And as this man was in Jesus's momentum of that lift, his legs straightened and stood underneath him, skinny, but enough muscle to hold him. And he was standing. I mean, it happened so fast. Wow. I watched this whole scene just in awe that I got to view this Bible story through his memory. And then I asked, well, Jesus, I didn't feel as much power whooshing through me, but that seemed to be even a bigger miracle this time. And I could feel, again, Jesus narrating to me this memory. He goes, well, I had more experience by then. And Jesus said, Dakota, in the same way that when you first began professionally communicating and talking to animals, it took more energy and you could really feel the change in you. And now it just doesn't take as much energy and you can handle more. He goes, the same thing happened to me with healing. And so what this tells me is that through a faith I hadn't really been considering before, God partners with the healer. It's almost like my belief shouldn't block God's power. God doesn't necessarily need me to like build up the belief so he can do it. It's almost like I just need to believe enough not to block God, because God wants to partner with the healer and the healed. I don't know. I think I'm going to pray some more and then lay some hands on people or animals or whoever will let me. Pray for them. I want to try this. Jesus says healing through laying on of hands is accessible. The apostles did it all the time. There's nothing that says it's not totally achievable today. And I've heard stories. So I'll keep you updated.